We have a really great new feature here under the security menu called Automation Switchboard. And what this will do is show you, for these different metadata types, all of the automations currently active and inactive in your org. So for example, these are some Apex triggers right here that are active. We can see I've got some workflow rules that are both active and inactive. These are my validation rules, my flows, all of the different automations you can see right here. And of course, you can check all of these boxes as normal and go to the Display Report tab and see a roll-up report about all of your automations and a dashboard and a summary table, which will give you kind of a bird's eye view of all of the automations in your org. And you can do a lot of interesting things here with these buttons over at left. So when you first come here, you will see your automations from the current snapshot. And if you click Load Snapshot, you will reload all of the automations off your current snapshot. But you can also retrieve the current value of these automations with the Retrieve Switches button right up here. And what that does is it downloads from your org all of the current values. So if your snapshot is out of date, or if someone has recently changed a value after your snapshot, this is a way to see where the switches are at this moment. And so I just retrieved all of those. And the other thing I can do is I can make changes. So for example, if I wanted to make some of these triggers inactive, I can click here, and then the Deploy Switches button right here will deploy any changes to the current org. So in this case, you can see I've got 2 inactive switches to deploy, and just like that, I made those 2 triggers inactive. Now the other thing you can do is you can import and export all of your settings. So this is really useful if you get the switches in a position that you want. You can export them, and then at a future date, you can import those settings and deploy, and it'll move all of the switches back to whatever settings you currently had. Now the other thing going on is that this entire application has really 2 different views. So currently we've been in the asset view where you're seeing metadata assets over here at left, but you can also switch to an object view. And when you go to the object view, you're now seeing your different objects that are available over here. And you're seeing then all the metadata types by object, and everything is sorted by object. And so of course you can select objects that you care about, go to the Display Report tab, and you will see then roll up of all the switches and values by object. So one more feature that's really useful is if you right click the preview table here, you can make bulk changes. So for example, I could make all of my switches inactive. I could make them all active. This way you can turn on and off an entire org. I can revert all changes and go back to the original values. But one of the things you can do, for example, is to ignore things. So I can mark everything to be ignored, but then I can select one of my objects and say, make these inactive. And then if I deploy the changes, I've just deactivated a single object, which is very useful for data migration. If you're going to migrate a couple of objects and you're working on a big team, or you need to turn some things on or off, this makes it very easy to do that. All right, that's the new Automation Switchboard.